I welcome you to the den of video games. In this layer, you will find my reviews on various different games, whether it be PC, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, GameCube, Wii U, N64, just to name a few. This will also feature videos of my plays on Twitch. However, if you care to watch those live, then please visit the link in the description below. Here I will introduce you to a little history of my gaming life. I was born into video gaming. I was only a month old when the original Nintendo Entertainment System was released stateside in October 1985. I was too young to remember when my family actually got the system, but I do remember my very first game. It was a 3-in-1 combo game featuring Super Mario Bros., Duck Hunt, and WorldClassTrackMeet. The system came with a Nintendo Zapper as well as the power pad. My sister, Irichu, check out her Twitch link in the description below, and I would take turns playing as Mario and Luigi in Super Mario Bros. Naturally, I always got to be player 2. But that was okay, because I liked Luigi more than Mario. He was so underrated and underappreciated, even today. Running all the levels and seeing how fast you could complete without losing your power up became a standard way of playing between me and my sister. And that music. That is some iconic music. Sometimes I can still hear the overworld music in my sleep. Duck Hunt. Where do I even start with this one? I still have vivid memories of my tiny self standing in front of a television, holding the zapper up to the screen and pulling the trigger. And that darn dog, he would always get the last laugh because I'd always miss one or two ducks. They would fly away and his butt would pop up laughing at me. I remember doing better on the clay disc shooting than the actual 8-bit duck shooting. I played both of these games more times than I could remember. With the last game that came in the combo, I believe I only played once or twice. All I can remember was the power pad was so unresponsive. It was basically used a couple times then folded right back up in the box. Even to this day, it's still packed up in that same box and hasn't been unfolded. One of my favorite games to play on that system was Super Mario Bros. 2. I loved being able to play as Princess Peach, or as she was known in my day, Princess Toadstool. She had the ability to float, which helped me out quite a bit. And I never knew that this was not a true Mario game when it was released in Japan. The Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2 was a direct sequel in style and layout to the first platforming game. This had blown my young mind when I found out. It explained so much. There had been no continuation between the two storylines. Different enemies, different main bosses, you had Wart instead of King Koopa, and the ability to throw vegetables. The characters and graphics had been changed to Mario and Friends, and released as a Mario title here in the States. It was not until the release of the Super Nintendo that the Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2 arrived on American shores. It was retitled as Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. My number one all-time favorite game to play on the original Nintendo system went to Super Mario Bros. 3. I absolutely loved how each world was a different theme, and it was not just the same style over and over again. Grassland, Pipe World, Iceland, Water World, Desert Land. I believe this was the foundation for the different worlds and levels that you come to see in later Mario games. This was also where I was first introduced to the Koopalings, or the Koopa Kids. They never really made a distinction back in the day on what to call them. I just called them by their actual names. I mean, if memory serves me, I would like to say they were named after classic singers, artists, and composers. For example, Iggy Koopa was Iggy Pop. Windy-O Koopa was Windy-O Williams. Lemmy Koopa was Lemmy from Motorhead. And Ludwig von Koopa was Ludwig von Beethoven. Those are the only ones I can remember off the top of my head, and I'm actually surprised I remember that much. Out of all of them, I liked Windy the best. She was the only female, and she was sassy. I am really glad to see that they finally made a comeback in the new Super Mario Bros. Wii game. I loved the addition of more items and power suits besides the traditional Fire Flower and Star. There was the Frog suit, the Tanooki suit, the Hammer Brothers suit, Kuribo or Goomba's shoe, and the raccoon tail. I loved being Raccoon Mario, or Raccoon Luigi as it was. Just being able to float with the little raccoon tail was adorable. I also enjoyed a wider range of enemies. This was the introduction of Chain Chomps, Boo, Boom Boom, Dry Bones, the Angry Sun, and Thwomps. I still love that game even today. Another game that I absolutely loved was a game based on a cartoon that I adored to watch, DuckTales. This was another platformer where you traveled the world and picked up various treasure items in order to continue to be the richest duck in Duckburg. Yeah, it sounds kind of cheesy now, but it was a really good game at the time. You had to go up against some of the enemies from the show, Magica Dispel and Flintheart Glumgold. Seeing all these different characters from the series make a cameo made me extremely happy as a child. Even to this day, the music remains one of the most epic out of all the old school gaming. One of. It was at this young age of gaming that I was introduced to one of the most addictive puzzle games, Tetris. Later versions of this game sucked my soul away. Now, growing up, I did not really care for the puzzle game. However, when the Nintendo DS version of the game came out, that all changed. It was mind numbing, and something I didn't even have to concentrate on. I just went with the flow of the pieces. I could lose myself hours at a time playing the endless mode. I was a fiend at clearing lines and flipping those tetraminos into place. Like any kid growing up in the late 80s and early 90s, we would have movie rental stores for both VHSs and video games. I know, it's unheard of in this day and age now. Everything is digital. Anyhow, I would occasionally get to rent a video game to play for the weekend. There was some strange Barbie game that I remember renting on quite a few different occasions. All I remember was the avatar had super long legs. And there were shopping malls, of course, and mermaids. Other than that, I can't recall a thing about this. I don't even remember what the story was about. And I don't think I ended up getting very far. But at least I know I wasn't completely crazy, because I was able to find some video footage from it. There was a chess game that was released that my sister would rent all the time, if it was available, that is. It was called Battle Chess. It was such a simple concept. It was a chess game. You played against the CPU or another player. But that concept was one big failure. It was boring. No, it was really boring. No, scratch that. It was epic level boring. You had to wait for each piece to move across the board. There was no button to push to skip. You had to sit and watch every single piece move. God forbid if a pawn had to move out of the way for a knight or a rook to move by. It actually took longer to watch these pieces move across the board than it took to watch the two battle each other. Seriously, if you thought having to wait for King Zora to move himself out of the way in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was long, This was by far even longer. So incredibly slow. In fact, the game footage that you see is in real time. Fast forward to Christmas 1991. We obtained the newly released Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This bundle came with 2 controllers, the system itself, and Super Mario World. The first game to play on a brand new system, and I was in love with it. This was the first introduction to Mario's dinosaur partner, Yoshi. I was a kid who loved dinosaurs. Of course, I would love Yoshi. It probably explains my love for snakes and reptiles now. Once again, I loved the different themed worlds, the return of the Koopalings, the added new ability of the cape, and the different colored Yoshis who could each do something different. Me and my sister unlocked every single special stage, Star Road, and Hidden Path. It was amazing. Out of all the levels and worlds, my favorites were the Forest of Illusion, Chocolate Island, and the Sunken Ghost Ship. The music for this game was amazing. I still love listening to the different music today. However, I do have one complaint that I cannot get out of my mind now that I think about it. After unlocking all the special stages, you had the ability to change the way the enemies would look. For example, the Koopa Troopa shells were now Mario faces, and the piranha plants went from their iconic look to creepy pumpkin heads. And I remember there was no way to change it back to the original looks. So if you ended up unlocking this in the middle of the game, like I did, you were stuck looking at these new abominations. It's a minor complaint that one can look past, but it still bugs me to this day. Super Mario Kart came next, the very first ever Mario Kart title. I could never, for the life of me, knock my sister out of first place. I always got second against her. I loved how they included tracks within the ghost houses and on Chocolate Island. A nice little tie in to Mario World. My favorite track is Rainbow Road, even to this day. I especially enjoyed watching it evolve from the flat Super Nintendo track to what you see it as today. And with this being the first entry into the racing genre, there was an increase in the number of laps around the track. It actually used to be 5 laps. However, now due to the length of the courses, it's only 3. The game is still going strong today. At least this game made racing fun, with the use of attack items, a battle mode, a decent number of different courses to choose from, and a wide variety of characters. One that failed was Power Rangers Zeo Battle Racers. One would think that having the word battle in its title would make it fun. Nope. No. No. It should have just been called Power Rangers Zeo Racers instead. The only thing it had going for it was you could pick between the 6 Zeo Rangers and King Mondo and a Cog Soldier. Other than that, there was nothing decent about it. The entire game execution sucked. I was so disappointed. The Super Nintendo offered quite a number of different games that I loved to play. Mario is Missing, Mario's Time Machine, Aladdin, Lion King, and Jurassic Park, which quickly became one of my all-time favorites. This was a top-down adventure game that took place on Elsa Nublar. You had to try and escape the island while all the dinosaurs ran loose. However, when you walked into a building, the view became a first-person shooter. So you could shoot a raptor or a Dilophosaurus in first person. It was epic. But the biggest downfall to that game, no save feature. You had 2 options. Play the entire game in one sitting, or risk leaving your system on while you take breaks. It ended up taking me 8 hours. The music for this game was also epic. There wasn't a big selection of songs for the soundtrack, but what tracks they did have were really good. And one other thing about this game, it had the worst ending ever. After putting so much dedication and thought into creating it, and making us do so much running back and forth, and then they slap the worst ending ever into our faces. Not cool. The ending was just the reverse of the beginning. Lame. Both Mario is Missing and Mario's Time Machine were great games for their time. They would be boring according to today's standards. It felt like a mashup of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego and Super Mario Brothers. Me and my sister would watch it every afternoon. I think that's where my love for anthropology and history came from. And look at me now. I've got a major in anthropology and a minor in history. Hence why I'm starting this review channel, taking a look at classic forms of entertainment from an anthropological point of view. Both Aladdin and Lion King had been released during the Super Nintendo's lifespan, as both movies had been released in theaters. And what better way to pass the time from theater release to the video release? Yes, we actually had to wait almost a half a year for a movie to be put on VHS tape. DVD wasn't going to be around for a few more years. Both games were fun and entertaining. They followed the stories of the movies pretty well. Iconic songs would play in the background as you would play out scenes from the movie. Overall, they were a lot of fun to play as a kid. We ended up getting the Super Scope attachment when it was released in a bundle with Yoshi's Safari. Horrible. 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 That damn scope didn't want to calibrate half the time, and was non-responsive the other half. It was supposed to be a two-player game, but the only thing I remember doing was moving the joystick left or right. Yeah. Not fun. And it was a rail shooter. So there was nowhere to go other than straight. We played it once and never picked it up again. It was nice to see them try and have Yoshi in other games, but this one was a fail. Did they even make any other games for the Super Scope? Last one I want to talk briefly about is Super Mario All-Stars. I do not, for the life of me, remember how we came about getting this game. The only thing I do remember, we got it for free. It was a collection of games remastered from 8-bit to 16-bit. This collection included Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, Super Mario Bros. 2, and Super Mario Bros. 3. In fact, in honor of Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary, Nintendo just released Super Mario All-Stars on the Nintendo Switch.